Hi there, I'm Traci Skuce. I am author, writer of the collection, short story collection Hunger Moon, which came out in April 2020. Yes, pandemic year. So, not a great year for taking books on tour. So, thank you very much to the BC Arts Council for funding for artists like myself and for this series of 4 videos that I will be doing to promote my book, Hunger Moon, and to offer you a little taster of some of the stories. So we begin today with a story in the collection called Destination Scavengers. And I wanted to do a little dedication for this story. I wrote this story over several years, and one of the characters in the story is loosely based on a friend of mine, Stephen Clark, who died in early July. And so I wanted to offer my dedications to Stephen for the inspiration for this story, and particularly the vehicle that these characters drive around in. So, Destination Scavengers. Man, Leon hated Riley right now. For 3 weeks in a row, Riley had ditched him, flat out ignored phone calls and messages. And now, finally back on track, ready to roll, he'd invited his girlfriend to join in on their road trip. So here they were, practically midnight, and up at her place near Dunbar, completely off track. She lived in one of those student rentals, like the one he'd shared with Riley years ago. But instead of beer bottles and crusty dishes, squashed paint tubes and reams of paper, bits of shell and bark, driftwood and moss crowded this kitchen. Plus 2 clothesline cords strung between walls, paper pegged to them, kindergarten style. Then this girlfriend on the floor, oblivious to Leon and even to Riley, bent over some old wooden cable spool, masked and gloved like a surgeon, doing arts and fucking crafts. Her name dissolved before it reached Leon's brain. It disintegrated as Riley said it. Solvent fumes went straight for him, though. Instant headache behind his left eye. A metal band girdled the spool and contained a pool of varnish. The girlfriend plucked an iridescent shell from a nearby pile and poked it into the pool. It submerged reluctantly, like a creature swallowed by quicksand. Leon's headache sharpened. The heaps of stones and shells beside her seemed infinite. They'd never get out of here. Riley crossed over to her, rocked back and forth on his heels, nodded down at her masterpiece like some great appraiser and appreciator of art. I saw the Mona Lisa in grade 12, he said, in the Sistine Chapel. The girlfriend grabbed another shell. Anyway, Riley said, you got a pack or a suitcase? We should go. She mumbled something behind her mask, and Riley spun around, disappearing down an unlit hallway. Leon didn't attempt small talk. Instead, buried his face in his collar, breathed in the cotton and his own ripe musk. His headache wouldn't simmer down, so he paced the clothesline gallery, watery landscapes and whorly abstracts a smear in his periphery. Maybe he should bail, slip out the door and walk back home across the freaking city. Forget about Riley, the girlfriend, the road. You can open a window, the girlfriend said. Leon dropped his face cover, ducked under the clothesline. She slid the mask onto her head and smiled. Really, she looked nothing like he'd imagined. A couple months ago, when Riley started bragging about this art student who gave him blowjobs every 5 minutes, Leon had visualized the milk ad model, an unforgettable crush he'd had years back, a blonde with a sprightly face and a full, suckable mouth. But this girl struck Leon as squirrely, her slight, angular face and dark, receding eyes, and her hair, brown at the top, then switched over at eye level to black. She winked at him, repositioned her mask, and examined her work. Leon saw it more clearly now, a purple starfish in the center, shells and stones spiraling outward like a pinwheel from each arm. She sighed and poked in a stone. It's supposed to be a galaxy, she said, her voice raspy and dreamy. But I don't know. Maybe it's more tidal pool. Leon said he could see it, sure, very cosmic, tidal cosmic. She laughed and said, my mom made a table like this once, with coins, the money table. She circled finger and thumb around one eye. My favorite was the Chinese coin, with the square hole in the middle. She looked at him a minute more, and he felt his shabbiness surface, his frayed sweatshirt cuffs, the rip along his collar. The 2 days he hadn't shaved, showered even, that stupid archipelago of acne above his eyebrow. And he worried she could see deeper beneath, to a more enduring flaw. He stepped back, stumbled into one of the clotheslines, loosened a clothespin which sproinged and soared upward, dropped into a sink full of water. Nice shot, she said, and his headache throbbed full force. Just then Riley reappeared, hooked his fingers over the door jamb, released his knees. He hung so his smiley-faced boxers showed and the bottom of his paunch. He'd been a skinny teenage kid, same as Leon, but at 25 their high-speed metabolisms were failing them. Too much beer and road food. Leon had vowed to switch up fruit for chips, a promise he'd already broken. He'd also started and stopped a regime of push-ups, sit-ups, jogging on the spot, at least a dozen times. Riley let go of the doorframe. Don't you have a bag packed? He asked again. The girlfriend sank one more stone, stood and peeled off her gloves, her mask. Remind me where we're going. Riley rolled his eyes upward, and Leon followed his gaze to a water stain near the light fixture. He studied the russet blotch, wondering what Riley would say and why the hell Riley had invited her in the first place. The only time a girlfriend had tagged along on one of their trips a couple of years ago, she'd fallen asleep before they left Vancouver and woke up way north, farther than she'd ever been or expected. She'd thrown a total conniption, demanding Riley find the nearest airport, some strip in a field, and fly her home. Instead, he'd dropped her at a bus station north of Quesnel and gave her 50 crumpled bucks, a half-eaten bag of Doritos, and a promise he'd call in a couple of days. Neither of them mentioned her again. Banff, Riley said. Check out the Rockies, you know, the buffalo. Cool, the girlfriend said, opening the fridge, removing a thermos. I'll grab my camera. She handed the thermos to Leon and ambled unhurried down the hall. Bastard, Leon said. You said she'd be ready. Riley snickered, and Leon shoved the thermos into his chest. Riley grabbed it and yelled for his girlfriend to pack a pillow, a blanket too. By the time they got anywhere, it would be morning. So I'm going to stop there. That's the beginning of Destination Scavengers, and it continues on with the road trip. So again, I want to thank the BC Arts Council for their generous support for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to drop comments below, and I'll put the link to where you can purchase the book in the description. Also, I have 3 more videos coming, and I will be reading from other stories for those videos, so please tune in. Thanks.